Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 105. And I realise the second I've said that, I meant to check who the last episode was. I'm in one of those sort of batches where I'm recording a lot, and it's just coming back to one of those batches at the minute. But I think, the last episode was Johan Humphreys, who is a poultry farmer in Wales, who talks a lot about the challenges with egg prices and the reasons that that's for. Supermarkets kind of have been blurring the truth there, so that's quite an interesting one. I can't remember what the next episode is, but the one after that will be with a couple who've travelled to 88 countries between them. That's almost half of the world. I've been to 2, and that's including Wales and Ireland. So it's quite an exciting story, that one. I enjoyed it, and it was very much an eye-opening one in that I realised how little I knew about the world, but that was quite fun. Today we have, I would say, quite it's famous the word, a well-known name in the Scottish sector, I would say. She's shaking her head behind the camera at the minute, but I'm going to introduce you to Annie Bryson. Annie, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I don't know if I like the introduction, famous or well-known. It's probably all for the wrong reasons.
Here, it's still famous or well-known, isn't it?
Just before we get started with another episode of the R2Kast, I would like to thank our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan Rural are heavily involved on the social media scene in the ag space with 120,000 followers on Instagram. They use this following to host social media takeovers with farmers throughout the country to showcase their stories. They also post to their rural community blog with further stories about these people in the industry. On top of this, they like to support initiatives that are championing the British agricultural industry, such as myself. So thank you to A-Plan Rural for that.
Annie and I were having a chat off camera just before we started recording, and I was actually 10 minutes late to recording this, which is bad on my part. But in my defence, I did kind of almost a little bit set the kitchen on fire, but not too bad. Just really bad smoke that I don't think had any flames in it. And Annie made a good point. It's a really good selling point for the podcast to call it the rural to kitchen on fire. But then proceeded to tell me about the time she put a baked potato in tinfoil in the microwave. So we're both not very good at this side of things, it must be said. Yes. Annie, could you give us a bit about your background? Are you from a farm? Was farming or this sector for you as a youngster?
Yeah, so I grew up on a dairy farm in the heart of Lanarkshire. Growing up, my dad was milking about 120, 130 cows, Holstein cows, and we're now milking about 200. We milk them, or should I say, he milks them 3 times a day. My brother will kill me if I claim to be milking cows. So yeah, my brother is here sort of part-time alongside being at Barony. We've 2 boys that help us, and me and my sisters do bits and bobs when we're home. That was what kind of got me interested in the industry. We grew up feeding calves, mucking out calves, showing calves. Used to go to all the local shows and even some of the bigger shows, the All Britain Calf Show. And lamb and sheep, I suppose. We had a wee kind of hobby of sheep as well. And that's what got me into it, into the industry, really. I originally wanted to be a vet. Like many young girls and boys, that dream did not come true because I didn't stick in at school. But I think I've actually ended up in a better position. I love what I'm doing now, and I'm still working with farmers and very much at the, I don't know what the word is for being...
Cold face, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, working in the cold face, of the industry, like working with people and being out on farm and being quite proactive in terms of feed and nutrition is now the kind of sector that I've fallen into.
I'm actually quite proud of myself, to be honest. It's a bit rude to hear your story and then say I'm proud of myself, but I am not good at sayings, and I never pick up what sayings mean. And people talk about throwing stones in glass houses. I'm like, that's just silly. I don't understand what this means. Like, but the coal face was one I learned about a few weeks ago. So, Dad, if you're listening, thank you for that.
You'll be proud of you for remembering.
Exactly. Yeah, I've raised a good son. 26-year-old understands a saying. That's quite embarrassing. But tell us about the All Britain Calf Show. That sounds fun.
Oh, well, to be honest, that was probably more my sisters that did better at that than me. But I did get down one year. So basically, there's a qualifier in Scotland. We're part of the Lanarkshire Holstein Club. First and foremost, always have been. And Dad was, I think, chairman at one point. But those calf shows happen once a year in August, and yeah, the turnout, it's actually getting better supported now from when I was younger. I maybe didn't have a lot of competition, which is why I made it down one year. But Zoe especially was very, very good, and she made it down doing showmanship. And then there's also a calf section for judging the calves. But you qualify at the Scottish Calf Show September time, and then I think the All Britain one's like October. It's down Telford sort of way. It's a big 2-day sort of event, and everyone travels from all over the country, from Ireland, all of Wales, all of England, and you're actually in teams, so there's different competitions throughout the whole weekend basically, and then a big ceremony on Sunday. So I would say Zoe and my brother now is sort of involved with that. They've learned a lot about showing, about genetics, about turning cattle out, clipping them, washing them, doing top lines. It's not something I really delved into hugely, but I was brought up competing, at least taking part, as my dad would say. It's the taking part that counts. So we did do a lot of that as a family when we were younger.
I feel like you put yourself down a lot. You're taking part, but you made it to the final down there.
Yeah, but I just know, Wallace, my family are going to listen to this, and if I don't tell the truth, they're going to call me out on it. So I might as well be honest that Zoe did beat me at everything that we did with calf shows.
I mean, if Zoe's nearby, bring her in. Maybe she's.
Unfortunately, she's in New Zealand now, so. But yeah,
a tricky one. Yeah, no, that's good. Just imagining the family sitting around the TV, get the notes out. Right, Annie, that was wrong. That was not true.
I know. Oh, they definitely would. You'd have a complaints list coming in about all the rubbish that I've told you.
The R2Kast for false propaganda.
Yeah.
So when did the vet dream start? It's, you know, I've with 105 episodes, obviously. There must have been 15 folk that have said this, 15, 20 folk that are like, wanted to do it, either didn't stick in at school, just didn't manage, or got to stage, I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Did that start at a really young age?
Yeah, I would say growing up, I guess the vets, and no disrespect to any vets out there, because one of my best friends is also a vet, they're kind of heroic when you're young, because I think they just come and they get stuck in and you admire what they're doing, and they turn up and everything's going wrong, and then when they leave, it's sort of everyone's a bit more positive. And yeah, from literally as much as I could walk, I loved being outside, and the vets were always, this isn't a good advert for Dad maybe, but like, you know, they were there or thereabouts. You know, you always seen vets coming on farm. I promise he is a good farmer. So I don't know, I just liked what they were doing, and I actually am a wee bit squeamish, but I never seemed to be squeamish when it was like jagging a cow or cutting a cow open. It was only like human blood I couldn't really stand. So I was always quite interested in that. Always liked watching the very rare, I'll put out there, post-mortem that we had to do. I don't know. So yeah, definitely from being really young, I wanted to be a vet. Thought it was going to be all fun and games and always exciting and stuff like that. Now, probably speaking to my friends that are vets or the vets that come about the farm, it's not all as positive as that experience. But yeah, I always wanted to be a vet until I realised I hated chemistry and biology, and they hated me just as much, so we couldn't get past the exams. And it came to an end, basically.
I was speaking about chemistry today. I was teaching a ag tech class, so they're like these like engineers, whatever, and I was like, oh, Jesus, they talked about chemistry, and I was like, I can barely spell it. Like, yeah, this is just way too much for me.
My poor parents, they actually paid for me to have a chemistry tutor as well, because I was so determined. Half determined I wanted to be a vet, and even that, I did get a C at higher, but I dread to think the amount of money they paid that man to sit with me to try and get it into my head, and it still was not enough. I just don't think it was meant to be.
A C at higher is better than, I don't know what age you are, so did you do standard grades or did you do nationals?
Yeah, I did standard grades, yeah.
Yeah, so I got, what was it? It was foundation something in credit. What was
general?
General, that's it. Yeah. So I got a foundation 5 in chemistry. And they were like, yeah, there's no point. Like, just give up.
I did get it was either a 1 or a 2. Like, I was allowed to take it as a higher, but yeah, I don't think I probably was advised not to, but at that point I thought I will work hard. And as the year went on, it kind of wore me down a bit. So it was just to get a pass in the end up. I'd talked myself out of veterinary before the end of 5th year.
It's probably good that you sort of came to that. It's not like last minute you're like doing the final exams and you're already, and then you're thinking, oh, maybe that's going to happen. Yeah, that would be tough. But
no, I came to the conclusion, and then I did leave school after 5th year, and that was basically moved on.
Are you holding one of those pens that you push the wee pencil things in? No,
I'm actually holding a bit of Lego that I just found.
This has been brilliant. You should meet my little crocodile that holds the charger in place when it falls out the phone.
Oh, brilliant. I'm actually at the farmhouse just now because my sister's going back to Spain tomorrow, so Mum was making us all dinner, so I'm kind of not in my usual setting for doing Zoom, so I'm just playing with whatever is like close to hand.
I kind of feel like we shouldn't have done this tonight if your sister's leaving.
No, it's absolutely no, she's not bothered at all.
Okay, grand. Okay. What was I going to say before I realised? Oh, that's my mum phoning. Go away, mother. See, you said like you're squeamish, but not with the animal side.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I am the weakest stomached person on this planet in general. Like across
animals
the board.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if when you were at uni you did the sort of trip to an abattoir, that sort of thing, but I did that and I fainted. So I've now got to take students. I have to arrange other people to take them for me because I can't do it. I'm so soft with it. And like at lambing time, I didn't faint this year, but I think it's the first year in like 5 years I've not fainted at one point during lambing time. I saw a C-section once and I had to sit down for about a week. Like I'm very soft. So fair play to you.
It's funny that actually, because when I went, it was the CT scanner at Edinburgh. We went down, we didn't get to an abattoir, or maybe I just missed that, I don't know. And we went to the CT scanner and the same thing happened. I fainted in there, but I don't know. I don't think I was that well. I don't know that it was a squeamish thing because they weren't even cutting this open or anything. I was just like on the floor. It was warm. That's my excuse. It was just really hot in there and we were all kind of crowded around this scanner and yeah, kind of embarrassing.
Well, I tell everyone it was a Thursday morning because Wednesday was our sort of night
out.
It was not a Thursday morning. It was just a week. And the women in reception like laughed at me. I'm like, I'm sorry, Les, leave me alone. It was an embarrassing moment. But we mentioned uni there. Tell us about uni.
So when I decided veterinary wasn't for me, I took a year out, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew it was still going to involve agriculture. In particular, dairy farming was where my interest really lay. So I looked at other courses and SRUC sort of jumped out and I went to Edinburgh to study animal science. I did look at some courses down south, but I kind of wanted to be far enough away from home, but still close that I could come back at weekends. Half involved with young farmers and like the dogs and stuff, you know. I just didn't want to be like a million miles away. So I went to Edinburgh and did animal science. And if I'm being totally honest, for the first year, I thought I'd made a massive mistake because it mostly involved chemistry and biology. I'm not making it up. Honestly, I was like, what the hell? This is meant to be animal science. And there was loads of like actual science. I don't know why that never resonated with me. It was all like related to animals. Of course it was. Like it was all, but it was a lot of lab work. And I just thought, I was more wanting out on field stuff. But I stuck with it. The actual background to what we were doing was very interesting. It was just the chemistry bit that kind of blew my head off. So, but anyway, and then I ended up doing 4 years in applied animal science and graduated with an honours degree.
It's not like they can be done for false advertising. I mean, it was called science.
No, I don't really know what I was thinking, like science. And I'm like, why am I wearing a lab coat? I mean, I don't know. But I did enjoy the background to it all. There was always logic behind what we were doing. I just... chemistry just was never my thing and it just seems to haunt me all the time.
So you did an honours. What was your dissertation in? Can you remember?
I did my dissertation down at Crichton
Right.
and I did it on 2 different dairy cow diets. So at the time they were actually doing a trial anyway, and I maybe did cheat a wee bit and piggybacked onto it and pinched some of their data. So they were doing one group which was a homegrown diet. So they'd grown rape, they'd grown, well, obviously their silage, whole crop, etc., their own cereals, and everything in that diet was homegrown. And then they were doing another diet which was all minus the forage, bought in, so bought in cereals and stuff. And they were just looking at, well, they were looking at a multitude of things that I can't really remember, but what I was looking at was the effect that had on butter fats, proteins, milk yield, fertility, just like a bit of everything. The sort of fairly basic data that I could collate is what I looked at.
Wait, when did you go to uni? How long ago was that?
Oh, did I? I think I graduated in 2018.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I think we were the same year, but different campuses and different courses.
Yeah.
We started 10 years ago next year. Annie.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it hurts, doesn't it?
Oh, I wish I hadn't told me that.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was the only reason that this is a bit of a random one, but I've been asked to host the graduation this year, right?
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of mad. I'm like, did you make a mistake? Did you write the wrong name? But I was looking up just for some stuff to write about, and I was like, oh, it must be like 9 years ago. When did that
That's
happen?
crazy since we started. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that at all. I'm still, when I was at Edinburgh, there was this, it's not an affiliated society, but the Edinburgh Agrics, which most people might have heard of. And I'm still in their Facebook page, like, group. And I keep saying to people, I'm like, I should leave because I don't know these people anymore. I don't know these kids that are running around having like their lads' dads and granddads pub crawls and stuff. But I can't bring myself to do it. Like, I like just like prees at Chalmers Street. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of tempted. Like, should I just go through for a night? I just can't bring myself to come out of there. And actually, there's thousands and thousands of people are still in that group chat that are like, I don't know what age they'll be, the oldest person, but we're all still in it. It's like a big community that we're always going to be Edinburgh Agrics, basically.
Yeah.
I would just like to quickly interrupt the show for a minute to give you some extra information on our primary sponsors, A-Plan Rural. A-Plan offer bespoke cover for farms and estates the UK over, and will give you tailored insurance for anything on the farm, from your old workhorse tractor that's been around 20 years or a fancy new and exciting diversification.
You should proper arrange like a big thing of like all the older ones to come in and like say we paved the way for you a lot, so you could.
I know. Well, Newcastle Agrics, they do like a ball. I think it's maybe every 5 years or something, and they get everybody back. But I don't think Edinburgh's really ever done anything like that. But it would be quite cool. Like anyone that's been like part of it at some stage can get a table basically and all come back, and you get all your groups and stuff. But I don't know, that could grow arms and legs, and then before you know it, you've 1,000 people rocking up.
Here, you've said it now. Maybe there's someone that's a chair of the Edinburgh Agric Society listening to this, Annie, and they're going to kick it off.
Yeah, I would love that. I don't want to be the person that organises it, but I'll turn up on the night.
It's funny. I mean, we had the same thing in Ayr, but Ayr's dead now. It's gone. So, yeah, like, I mean, which is mad. I mean, you think about Auchengrove and, yeah. It's
crazy. It was really, how many were in your year?
Ayr, good question. 16, I think, at the start. Yeah, well, I mean, like for reference, the HNC group I have this year are 28.
Wow.
Yeah, and we are getting more applications. We're just, because it's a new course, we're like, can we just wait a wee minute?
Yeah.
We get this right. Yeah, we actually, funnily, speaking about your brother, he's obviously on it, and we went to a strawberry farm recently.
Oh, he told me about this. I think I know exactly what you're going to say.
and Robert was like, yes, go have a strawberry or two. And Mark just disappeared to the other end of the polytunnel and came back with like red hands.
He said he was like walking as slow as possible because he could just grab as many like strawberries up and down these lanes or whatever you call them, and he was just firing them. His cheeks must have been bulging.
yeah, he was like a squirrel.
He did think it was a great. I don't know if he learned much, but he said that was a great visit today. We were at a strawberry farm.
I'm surprised he wasn't ill for the next 2 days.
I can't imagine that being good for you, but.
No, they were bloody nice if you'd 1 or 2, but I think after 48 it was a bit too much. But it was a good trip. It was a good trip. You said what? Yeah, you said a bit about young farmers when you were at uni. What young farmers are you involved in?
So I was involved with the Avondale Young Farmers. I did a bit when I was at uni, the concert and things. I became secretary of the club the COVID year, which just sums up my luck in general that I kind of ended up with that year. But yeah, I've sort of always been involved. I never went above club level, but I have done most things like stock judging, handicrafts, sports, the concert. I've always enjoyed. This was my first year. Well, no, that's a lie. There was a couple of years I took years out of the concert, and then this was like my year that I decided I'm done, like this is it. And it was kind of bittersweet actually going and watching them and not like knowing I'm not going to do that again kind of thing. But yeah, so Avondale Young Farmers, and that's where I've met the majority of my friends round about here, and yeah,
It's
a good group.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, like I've said a few times, like what day is it? Tomorrow I'll have been in Young Farmers a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Only joined at 25. I did. Yeah, very late.
Late starter, yeah.
Just over the last few minutes, they were able to get me in, to be honest. But I did it at Arran. We started at Young Farmers in 2015, and I was chair, secretary, and treasurer, doing all the stuff until it sort of eventually fell apart. But apart from that, I really haven't done it at all. And I joined last year, and like concert was the best time of my life. Like, yeah, it's just so fun. Like, just making a complete fool of myself, which is what I do all the time anyway. And then just getting to do it with more people was great crack. But now
do it with an audience as well, and the whole club comes together. It doesn't matter if you're 26 or if you're 17, if it's your first concert or your last concert. It just everyone just loves it. It's just a right carry on.
It was amazing that the guy who was chair at the time, he's actually my new co-host on the second series of the podcast. Always tells me, it was like, I just remember you walking up to the changing room to do a quick change, and like grabbing him and saying, "I'm lowering it till I die." And I'm like, I've never had this passion. Like, where did this come from?
Well, what I love about it, and Mark won't thank me for saying this, but the boys that just get right into it, and like they're wearing dresses, they're learning the dance moves, they're wanting to be at the front row, and like you just see a totally different side to not just boys, actually girls as well, that you think are quiet, and then all of a sudden they can tap dance and they can do this, that, and the next thing you think, wow, like where's this come from? As soon as they're off the stage, never mentioned again, won't even like discuss what has just happened. But it's so brilliant. You see different sides to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I think it's a funny story. I've told this a few times. I am definitely the person that just jumps into it. Like, I mean, I'm like that out with concert, but I just want to make a fool of myself and have a good time. So we were in the last few. I would say our concert was about the 13th of January, I think, and this was one of the between Christmas and New Year practices. Like, we should have been ahead of where we were. And then our now secretary Joanne came in and said, "You've got to be more like Wallace." And I'm like, "Oh!" I'm sitting there listening to this thinking, I'm doing well. And she's like, "He's a terrible dancer, but he's having fun."
Yeah. And is that not so true? When you go to a concert and you see somebody that cannot dance, like is so out of time, is going left when everyone else is going right, that's who you watch, and you can tell that they're loving it, and it makes like everybody loves it. And yeah, you're laughing at them, but it's all in good humor because it's brilliant. That's what makes the Young Farmers concert. It's not professional, and you've just got to go out there and love it.
Oh, absolutely.
The mistakes are always, well, sometimes the funniest bit of the whole concert, like the bits that actually go wrong.
I don't know if you know this, but I dislocated my shoulder doing Talent Spot.
Doing Talent Spot this year?
Yeah, live, like when it was happening.
Was that at the D&G one?
Yeah. Not the were you at the Glasgow one?
I didn't actually go.
No. Well, I was only singing because I was like, our last song was like that, and I was like this.
Oh no.
I couldn't do it. Yeah, I dislocated it. We did, and it wasn't even on Talent Spot. It was like, "Wallace, we need a 3-minute front of curtain. Like, can the three used to do one of the things you did in concert?" And we're like, "Yeah, sound." So we did that, and I basically just. Actually, you said Avondale. I think you guys did the same. I know you weren't in it, but I think, is it James Hamilton? That he did? It's like the doctor's scene, and he keeps picking up things. So I did that, and like when I faint, like I properly faint. but I get caught in the chair and just landed right on my shoulder, and you see it like go behind me. I've got it on video, like it's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah. And
ouch.
then, long story short, I went to doctors 3 times the next 2 weeks, and they all said it was fine, but it was consistently dislocated until someone popped it in. So yeah, I wasn't able to do it. So that was my talent spot story from this year.
Oh my god.
It's quite
That's
fun.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I didn't go to Lauren Nithsdale's talent spot or DG's talent spot, because saying I'm squeamish, that might have tipped me over the edge.
It was so dramatic because it was like the third last thing. And I was sitting there like, oh, Trips, I've done something to my shoulder. I've got to go hospital. And one of them, Aileen, was like, right, we'll get you to hospital. We'll get to hospital. And I was in hospital in, say, Hospital Moore Wallace. And they messaged us saying the results are happening in 10 minutes. And I was like, right, screw this, taxi. We got back for the results.
Back.
We had won, and I was in this slag, and I was like jumping, like hugging everyone. No, avoid me.
Avoid. I know to protect myself. Oh, that's such a shame.
But yeah, it was a good story.
Your first experience at talent spot's been memorable anyway.
That's that. You said about stock judging. Did you do quite a bit of that?
Done bits and bobs, yeah. More so like local stock judgings, but I have been in the teams for the Highland show a couple of times. Again, Zoe and Mark have both bet me at every stock judging, so I had to retire from that also. But yeah, did do all the training for a number of years and learnt to give reasons. Zoe went on and won the stocksmanship at the Highland show one year, and that. Well, no, I think I did it another year after that, but it's a huge commitment. I definitely did learn a lot, but maybe I'm a quitter because I realised I was never going to win it, so I just stayed. But I enjoy the local ones, and we've hosted a couple on the farm, and yeah, they're good. Mark's busy trying to do it this year as well. Like he's right keen, but there's like late nights and sorry.
I was just saying he does a lot of it.
Yeah, he does. He's really right into it. He was away on a day away down to Fries somewhere a week ago or something. But yeah, there's every week, there's a night to go all over the country and learn. Now I'm glad I did do that. That was one of my highlights probably in Young Farmers, is just learning. And again, it's sociable, good group of people that you go out with, and you kind of get to know them over the couple of months that you stand outside getting freezing. And it's good. No, I do like stock judging. I think I'll stick to the local ones from now though.
It's quite funny. I mean, I've almost got a name for how bad I am at it. Like I'm terrible. Like it's impressive how low I can consistently be, right? And then there was this one last year, and I was with Perry, and it was a mainly sheep-based one, and he's a shepherd, and he likes to tell you how much he knows. Perry, if you're listening, you know it's true. And I got third, right? You didn't get placed, but when they said third, Wallace Curry, there was genuinely like a collective laugh and disbelief. No, he hasn't.
That's not a good sign for your judge then at all.
I know exactly. That's it.
I've been to a couple with friends that I've taken that know nothing about cows or sheep, and they're like, what is this we're going to? This is the strangest thing ever. You judge them and someone else judges them, and then you compare notes or something, like what's going on here. But then sometimes they beat you and you're like, fuck, did I overthink this? When Mark was really young and we used to go as a family to a lot of stock judgings, Mark used to, he had 2 methods. He either wrote them down in the order they come in, or he literally did pick his favourite, his favourite colours, the favourite cow, whatever, favourite patterns, let's say. And he used to do pretty well. Like this is as a toddler, this is as a tot when he was just given a card, he could scribble whatever he liked on, and he used to get really good scores. And then there was me trying to think of all the fancy terminology that Dad's speaking about, and really, and I just got myself all confused and all confuddled and didn't know what I was looking at.
There is a hint of luck to it, though, isn't there?
Definitely.
1, every judge's got a different opinion, and 2, it's only 4.
Yeah.
You know, if it was like 15, yeah, it might be a different story, but you've only got A, B, X, and Y there. Like if it, yeah.
At the stock judging practices, all stock judges will know this, but if you're in doubt and you really don't know what you're going to do, you do backsy. BAXY. That's what everyone just does if they just are completely lost. Baxi. You knew it'd be a bad class if everyone's just going Baxi, shaking their heads like don't know what to do here. But like you say, you've like it is a lot of luck. So sometimes that could be right. Yeah.
No, they are good crack because they do get everyone together. They get a competition over nothing. Like it's good crack.
I know, but also it's such a good day at the Highland Show to be involved in that competition. It does start early, but like there's huge morale there. The presentation on the Saturday, like everybody going back getting their white coats ready to go and support the winners. It's like a huge hype for it, and it does get really well supported, which is good fun.
The young farmer stuff at the Highland Show has kind of blown me away. I was always aware of it, but now, like, well, I don't know if you know this, but I'm National Vice Chair of Comms and Marketing. So, like, you've
only joined a year and you've rocketed like right up the top of the ladder.
Yeah, and I don't really like talking about it because I'm scared people have been like tried for a while are like, where's this dick came from?
Where's this guy coming in and get right to the
exactly. But obviously, because of that, I've seen like what's happening at Highland Show and stuff, and I'm like, this is insane. Why didn't I do this?
I know I did this before.
But here it's still good things coming in at this point. But you've done quite a bit of travelling, from what I understand, Annie. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I've done bits and bobs. I wouldn't say I've not done enough. Say that I'm going to say that because I've still got a long list of places I want to go. But the first place I sort of properly travelled to was America, and I did that instead of graduating actually after fourth year, I think. Yeah, straight after fourth year. Literally had our May ball in the May. And then I went away for 3 months. And I did a mixture of visiting some farms and some companies, some nutritional like supplement companies really that I've got in touch with through my dad and through other companies that were here that had contacts out there. And so I visited a few farms and did a lot of traveling was there for 3 months and traveled right up the centre. Couple of dairy farms and a beef farm, just to sort of get an idea of scale. It was really the first time I had properly travelled. I'd been about Europe a bit, but that was like my first experience. And been away on my own, staying in hostels or motels or, just having to find my way about like public transport and all that. So it was really, really good. And saw the biggest dairy farm I saw had 30,000 cows. Wow. Which, it was a wow moment.
Biggest one in the world's 110, is it not? So it's like a third of the biggest in the world.
Yeah, well, wow. Yeah, it was huge.
Probably bigger then at that point as well. Probably.
Yeah. Well, did I say 2018 was the year? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my 22nd birthday, so 5 years ago. Yeah, it will be 2018. I was there, so that was in Madison, and it was really, really quite something actually. It was all Mexican labour. They had 2 parlours going 23 hours a day basically, and those Mexicans just worked like 8-hour shifts milking cows.
I genuinely couldn't think of worse.
I know, I'm the same. They seem to get staff fine out there, and those Mexicans, well, they didn't speak much English, so we thought they were happy,
Well, it's here, and I think the thing is, like a lot of these sort of harvest-ish jobs, there's good money in it if you're willing to work,
Yeah.
And,
definitely. No, they would all be making a decent wage, I would think.
It's always that 23 hours, isn't it? 1 hour to wash.
Yeah.
Never heard of a 24-hour parlour yet. Always.
No, I know. Oh, there'll be one sometime, I'm sure. Someday I'll try it. But no, it was really, really good. And I went round with another girl who was a foot trimmer.
Right.
And she was also selling sort of supplements and different products for measuring lameness and stuff like that. And that was a really, really good trip and my first experience. And then that sort of encouraged me to go out to New Zealand and Australia. So I spent 2 months in Australia, wasn't long enough, should have done what Zoe done and still be out there now maybe.
Yeah.
But I did 2 months, and again it was a mixture of travelling and visiting some farms. Visited 4 dairy farms and a place that was rearing like a Hereford stud farm. So and I stayed with them. Everyone in New Zealand was so welcoming, and as soon as I sort of mentioned that I knew maybe someday or had been put in touch, like they were like, oh, come stay for as long as you like, you can work, you can just dump your stuff here and go away, do whatever. So I did that for 2 months, and then I went over to Australia, but I only did the east coast of Australia for 3 and a bit weeks, just travelling visiting some
Short
family.
time. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
short time. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go
time
back
was this
out.
then?
Sorry?
Was this 2019 now, or was this?
It would be 2019, yeah.
pre-COVID?
So that was the following year. It's quite funny because Zoe and I spoke about going together, and then it never really worked out. I went away out in the July, come back in the October, and Zoe and I were only back, like, I was only back maybe a week. We actually went over to Spain to see my other sister. And then we both came back, and she went, and she's been out there ever since. So
Oh, right. She's never been back since then.
she's never come back. No, 3.5 years she's been over. Well, she has. She came back last year for a month, to basically tell us all that she was going to give it a go out there, basically. So,
brilliant. And that's the plan to live there for her, yeah? Is it?
Yeah, she's got into an opportunity to share milk. So she's in a farm in the North Island, is share milking with her partner, and then her partner's parents have a farm that Zoe sort of is 2IC, I suppose, and she milks there, and she does bits for them as well. So
amazing.
Yeah. My mum and dad are just back, actually. They went out for the full of April this year. That's the first time they'd ever been, and went to see her. And
that would be nice.
Yeah, I'm dead pleased because I don't know, I just kind of thought they would never really want to go away for that length of time. Like a month leaving a dairy farm is quite daunting, and Dad was quite panicky and, just getting things organised before he left. But the place is still standing, touch wood, and I think they would go again. They had a great trip. Nice to see where Zoe is, the people she's with, meet our partner Connor's family, all Zoe's new friends, and just, I don't think they did anything really special, but it was just nice spending time together. So
it's nice to get that sort of like, she's in a good place, and actually know it's the case and not just affirm it. So definitely.
I think my mum definitely found a lot of comfort in that, like now knowing that Zoe's really happy and she's with good people and she's got a really good opportunity. It seems it's not easy to do what she's doing or get to where she wants to be, but if you work hard, you can get a chance to start a dairy out there, and it's just not possible in this country.
There's another couple that have done that. Is it Liz and someone Ramsey?
Oh, Lynn. Is it Gregor and Lynn Ramsey?
Yes, yeah. They've done, I think.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to get them on the podcast, actually.
The chap that Zoe went out there and worked with, I actually stayed with him, and he was kind of keen he was like, oh, just stay, do our calving, blah, blah, blah. I'd already decided I was coming back to work. I'd lined up my job with Roadhead Farm Feeds at that point. So that was fine. I said, Zoe, there's Tom's details, go and contact him if you're looking for a job. And she did. And he was actually Irish. At that point, he'd been out there 12 years. So now nearly 16 years. He owns his farm, owns 500 cows, I think. So he's going to correct me on all this. But his father still has a dairy farm in Ireland. And when I was there, his father had phoned him and said, look, Tom, what are you thinking? This farm's yours if you want it. Are you coming back? And then Tom said, no, sell the place. I've done it all here. I've got a better work-life ethic. I'm making more money. I've got more time to spend with my family. I don't need the farm in Ireland. I'm not coming back. He told me, I've watched my dad live in a guddle forever, like just always got stuff to do, and the amount of sheds and bed and mucking out, and wintertime was just a nightmare. And Tom said, that's not my kind of farming. I don't want to do that. So,
and I think that's a good thing that, like, Tom said that, because there's this sort of idea that agriculture sells the career on the idea of it's a lifestyle, but people forget, like, it's also a business, and it's also got to be not a thing that means you can't see your kids, that can't see your partner, like, which it has become in some places. And I
know, like, working isn't your lifestyle, and it shouldn't be your lifestyle to just be working all the time. I know a lot of people enjoy it, and that's great, like, we all love it, but you've got to find that balance. And for him, he just said, what is that? Even though I think his dad was in, like, a fairly big farm, 250 cows, something, like, he just said it's a big setup, but it's not for me. And he'd met somebody out there and he thought, no. And also the fact, in 12 years, I think at that point he had maybe 300, 400 cows of his own. I mean, what?
That's just, you can't do that here.
You can't own all that.
Just about impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's close to impossible, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Problem.
So Zoe learned a lot from him, and then she got this share farming opportunity with another lady who's also Scottish actually, and she went out there and did it the same way, and has now given Zoe the opportunity to sort of start doing that as well. So it's
brilliant.
Yeah, so I don't know where I went wrong actually, Wallace, because I bought a house in Stonehouse after COVID, and one sister lives in Spain and one sister lives in New Zealand, and I'm 10 minutes away.
But I mean, for what it's worth, I bought a flat that's maybe the size of the average post box. I mean, I was showing someone the flat for the first time last week, and I was like, "There's a vantage point you can see everywhere."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad. In the middle of the hallway, you can see the back of the kitchen, the back of the bathroom, the back of the bedroom, and that is it.
Yeah.
Living room as well, but yeah, maybe I should have went to New Zealand. There's been a general theme throughout of interest in nutrition, and as you've been representing with the top on the whole time, Roadhead Farm Feeds, which is the place you've ended up, and something that you've obviously were interested in before. How did that come about first, and what's the job there?
How did it come about? I was back from New Zealand. No, it was before New Zealand, actually. Jeff Hewitt was advertising, and so I phoned him up and we had a chat. But I said I was definitely still going to New Zealand and Australia. I wouldn't be able to start till October, which for the nutrition sort of sector is quite a good time to start, because it's like into winter diets and winter rations. At the same time, quite a busy time to start. It sort of was like diving in at the deep end. I didn't get a few months to meet customers. It was like straight in. But yeah, just we sort of decided whilst I was away, I think there was a few emails and phone calls back and forward, and we decided I was coming back. I was going to Spain, and then I just kind of got started with Jeff. And I think we both really gelled because, for anyone who doesn't know, like, he is milking 1,000 cows there, and is a dairy farmer first and foremost before he's a like feed merchant, if you get me. So his passion is milking dairy cows, and cow performance, calf performance, is a great one for like attention to detail. And then the feed business sort of was built on the back of that, because he just couldn't find a supplier of good enough quality, essentially. So we started doing it himself. Very small scale with a mixer wagon to start off with, and it grew arms and legs, and he started making feed for neighbours and friends, and now we cover from Brecon to Penrith.
Wow, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, that's the sort of scope, and then right across to both coasts, east and west. So yeah, and 6 Arctic lorries, and I started in 2003, so that's 20 years he's sort of built up. A big automatic feed mill, and is again the sort of models that he started with are still the same. There's no rubbish, there's no palm kernel, no wheat feed, no like nothing that what he was struggling to find. Like he just won't put those raw materials through the mill. So it gives me great comfort, I guess, because everything that goes through the mill, he's tried and tested it. Every formulation has been, like the calf crunch, for example, it was formulated because he was experimenting trying to find the best calf blend he could. And now we sell that formulation. And it's the same for all the cow, all the young stock blends, dry cows. He's tweaked it and tested it and had all the mistakes on his farm, so that now it's there's confidence in everything that I sell, basically, that it's doing such a good job for him, and it is for everyone else.
I don't know if that's a complete USP and that no one else does it, but I can't imagine there's many feed companies out there that are based on a farm that have that incentive of doing well as well, not just trying to do well for other people, but also like, if I'm bad at this, my own business is failing.
Yeah. I don't know, I can't think of any in Scotland, really, unless there will be some smaller ones that probably sell. But I think on the scale that we are, we will be probably the biggest. There is definitely one in Ireland that I can think of that's the same sort of setup. It was a dairy farmer that sort of started that. Yeah. But it is a bit of a USP, to be honest, because like it is all tried and tested. And I mean, Jeff will invite anybody at any time to come and see the work on the farm. Like, if we have total confidence in what we're selling, and if it's not working somewhere else, then why? Like, we need to get to the bottom of it, because it is working for Jeff and it wouldn't be sold otherwise. And it's now working for me here, because obviously my dad had to buy from Roadhead Farm Feeds, but I've learned it all through feeding calves here as well, milk powder and calf crunch, etc. And I don't know, it's it's nice to have total faith.
I like that full process that you're seeing the end product with yourself with at Roadhead as well.
I take videos, and so does Jeff. I mean, our WhatsApp chat's pathetic. It's just videos of calves back and forward, and what ears look like, and what are your calves weighing at, and blah blah blah. And it's more chat about that than, I don't know, like, you know, it's performance driven really. Like, you know, we're just wanting to see how much better can we get them looking, how hard can we push them, and then you take that data back to your customers or potential customers and show them the videos and show them the proof and say, come and see them if you want. Like, if your calves aren't looking like that, then why not? I don't quite like that. Rather than being like super salesy, it's all trying to make a difference and performance related. So
no, I certainly liked that when I heard you speaking about it recently. When did you say you started, sorry?
October 2019, so that's 3.5 years I've been with Jeff. Yep. And when I started, I kind of just got given a car and a phone and told, right, your territory is the UK, go wherever you want, like find business, do business, whatever. And so mostly I'd say Ayrshire and Fleece and Fife. Strangely enough, I don't cover as much in Lanarkshire, but Jeff sort of had that fairly well established with the ones that he's dealing with. So I go to Ayrshire and Dumfries and Fife sort of weekly. But yeah.
Is it just the two of you doing that side?
Just the two of us that go out on the road. We have two other girls that are sort of more home-based or office-based. Erin, who we started as an apprentice or doing a college sort of course to do social media and marketing, and she also phones all her existing customers, so just to make sure orders aren't missed or people don't forget. And I tell all my customers, if Erin phones you, check your bin. Like, that's what, like, because she knows before you know that you're running out of feed. It's like all automatic. I said, you don't need to answer, just go and check the bin, phone her back or text her. Like, that's your reminder when she phones that you've said something. So she's very, very useful. Jeff and I do rely on her a lot to just keep us up to date and just make sure all the existing customers are all quite sweet. And then we have Sarah, who was brought in to do sort of new business. She's been phoning a lot of people down the southwest, Castle Douglas, Stranraer and Cumbria, which are two areas that I haven't really reached to, purely because actually covering the mileage, I think, to get there, and then maybe not seeing as many people as you would like to. The areas that I've found have worked are the areas that I'm always working in, and I'm sort of busy enough with those areas. So she's doing new business from home, and then she's been out with both Jeff and I if she needs support, like on farm, like needs to go and see people, which I think is still important. There's a lot done on the phone in the industry now, but I think farmers do still like to see a face every now and again, maybe not like the monthly traveller call. I know you don't want to become that pesky traveller selling stuff. So maybe not every month. Well, my own customers, I would say every month, but when it's new business, you've got to just try and fish out when is the right time and get in at the right time of the month or the right time of the year that they're going to be looking at certain products and stuff. So but Sarah's good at that as well, like working out, right, they're not going to buy till July, or they're, I don't know, and giving us up. So no, the teamwork, it's a small team, but everyone's got their own wee role and it all works really well together. So. And
you mentioned you started in October, so it was like a proper in at the deep end type start. How did you deal with that?
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it still to this day haunts me, like just driving up a farm road and you have no idea who even is in the farm. But that is how I started, to be honest. Like I got given a phone, I had some numbers, some of my dad's pals and some folk that I just knew. And then you could Facebook stalk. It's amazing what Facebook and Google can actually find you. I phoned a lot of house numbers. Sometimes got the farmer's wife, sometimes got nobody, left voicemails. But in the end, you just have to drive up the road in and just introduce yourself. And see who's there, and then I don't know. It was pretty, and it still is tough. I mean, that is probably my least favourite part of the job, is driving into a place you don't know who you're going to see. If you're having a good day, if they're having a bad day, you've just to hope for the best.
It's
but yeah,
daunting, though. It is daunting.
it is. Yeah, I try to do
yeah.
as much research as I can, like to find out bits about them. But there's a lot of times that you just think, oh gosh, I can't drive past this farm again and no go in. Like, I need to just find out who it is. I'm not getting anywhere with the social media stalking them. So just get up the road and see what they have. And, you know, they might have 5 cows, they might have 500 cows. So, you know, you've just got to get stuck in. So that first winter was really, really tough. And then, of course, March came and I was told I couldn't go on the road because of bloody COVID. So then I was resorted straight to the phones. And that actually wasn't too bad. It did force you just to phone and write up who was due visits, sort of June time. I got back out doing like odd days a week and throughout the summer, but you had more of a rapport, and actually people knew you better because they'd probably spoke to you 2 or 3 times by that time, as opposed to you just turning up and didn't know you. Nowadays, I try as much as I can to book appointments, or at least let people know, look, I'm going to be in your area Tuesday, are you going to be busy? I'll maybe nip in, because it saves me wasting their time and wasting my own time. If people are sort of half expecting you, or they're going to be there or thereabouts.
So what's a week in your life like?
Monday morning starts at the office. I always go on a Monday to catch up with everybody. Most of the team is in on a Monday morning. So and I sort of make some phone calls, do some diets, and try to make a rough plan for the week by phoning some people to see if whatever day would suit them, if I'm meaning to go and see somebody, and roughly sort of plan it out. And then I set off sort of 10, 11 o'clock. I normally go into the office twice a week, 2 mornings a week, sort of just to be there and show face.
Yeah.
And then basically, just get out on farm. Depends what kind of calls I'm doing, whether I'm looking at cows, looking at cow condition, looking at dung, counting cuds, analysing silage, running diets off, or whether, you know, if it's a potential customer's day, you sometimes just stand in the yard, have a good blether, go over what you've got, maybe have a look over calves. I'm quite passionate about calves and even calf condition and shine on them and just trying to push them. So just a general blether with a lot of people, and I try to just get round as many farms as I can, and in between phone the next one or phone somebody else that kind of pops into your head, not spoke to them in a while. And
do you know, I'll take my hat off to you in that I did sales for, I mean, your job's probably more nutrition, but there's definitely a massive part of sales to it.
Yeah.
I did sales for 3 months and I was good at it, but I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I just sort of, I was really bad at it. Well, I was good at it, but I didn't like it at all.
There are so many hard days. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And actually, I hope nobody, well, some farmers will listen to this and think, I've done that. And it's pretty rough. Like, I've had people hide from you when you go into a farm.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, am I that person? Like, I don't want to be this person, but I do want to do nutrition, and I'm only going to sell to somebody if I think I can make a difference.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things I've learned from Jeff is to be really honest with people. And I hope I've never offended MD, but like, if I think your cows could look better, I'll be honest and I'll say, look, I could make a difference. I'm not going to try and go down the pushy sales route, but I want to put it out there what I can do. And the fact I've got photos, videos of my own cows, I've got CIS data of what Jeff's cows are doing, of what calves are doing. We've got the proof to back it up, but I do hope that nobody thinks of me as being a really pushy salesperson. Like, buy this is my price, this is my price, this is my price. I try not to even like mention money, price. It's like, what are they doing? What are we achieving here? What performance targets are we getting to? And that's where I want to take you. But sales can be a tough gig when people, you rock up on farm and you can see the person, you're like, nah, he's not in the mood today because he's hiding. I'm just, get out of here.
Feeling like a Jehovah's Witness, everyone goes to toilet suddenly.
I had one time that I phoned a farm. I'd actually drove into his yard. I'd been on the phone to somebody else. Drove in, so I hadn't had time to phone him and tell him I'm literally going to be passing. Do you mind? Anyway, I phoned him when I was on the yard and I said, hi, so and so, I was just passing, I've just dropped in, are you around? And he was like, no, I'm not here actually, I'm at the other farm, I'm moving some young stock and I can see him. And I just think that's so terrible, but I totally get it. There's a lot of reps out there.
Yeah.
My dad's the same, sometimes just cannot be bothered, like you're busy. So I try to phone as much as possible, and I do say that to everybody. If I'm phoning you, if you're busy, just tell me, look, really busy today, and I'll phone you back. And then I know I'm not going to come in and waste your time. I'd prefer if I had phone numbers for people, I wouldn't just do I don't like the cold calls. I hate them. So make it easier for both parties and we'll not waste each other's time or hurt each other's feelings or anything like that. So
no, absolutely. And do you know what? I thought the time I'd heard, where I rode head for a while, I went to college with Jeff's daughter. She was the year below me, but the thing I saw when we did that industry day last week was it wasn't pushy about price. It was just, this is what we're doing, this is what the blends are, this is how it works, which I thought was really cool. Did you enjoy that, by the way?
I did. I really liked it. Yeah, I felt it was kind of strange doing the same talk 3 times, but I know. I hope the students all found it interesting. But obviously you told us this isn't a sales pitch, so I was basically just saying this is what we do, this is why we're different. And when I brought out the tickets and showing the comparisons of unnamed competitors compared to what we are doing, there is a price difference obviously, but it's all quality related. And no, I really enjoyed that day. Actually, it was good. It was also a really good learning day, I think, for Erin, because Erin's actually been with us about 6 months now. And her getting to hear it and her getting to speak about the products to prospective customers, I guess, but at the same time not making it really salesy and not feeling like she was under a lot of pressure. She got to speak about the products.
No, Erin was top as well. Like, she absolutely was. It was really nice to see from my perspective as well.
Yeah, she said that you lectured her for a bit, so now she's teaching you.
I know, that's it. Poor Erin. No, it was, well, I've had nothing but positive feedback from students and staff, so that probably answers your question. Yeah, very good. It was very good. It was really all of the stands we had, I think, 8 across the course of the day, and it was really good. I always love those days. I just like meeting people. I probably use this job to too much of a benefit in that regard. I'm like, well, we'll go on a trip here and meet that person, and then
you've got to, you're interested.
Any trip-based module, I'm like, yes. That one sounds fun.
Do you get to pick where the trips go, I guess? Are you in charge of the course like that?
So all of the trips that Mark's been on this year I've organised, which I think is 9.
Wow.
I've done 3 or 4 for the HNDs, but the modules, the course like Mark's doing is different to what I did. It's different to what last year did. It's a new thing. So there's 2 modules that are very trip based. I've been to like goats. We're going to sheep dairy on Wednesday. Like it's just the absolute element. It's great.
Everything different. Well, some feedback from Mark is going to be more food related, getting to help yourself sort of visits.
I thought that was quite clear.
Yeah. Even when he's went up to the buffalo farm and he came back and he'd been in the farm shop and had like, I don't know, a mountain of food home with him. Anything like that is right up his street.
Well, I'd arranged burgers that night, burgers for lunch there. And then I went into the farm shop. I was like, oh, this buffalo ice cream is amazing. So I don't know if you know, but buffalo butter fat content is 8.5%.
Wow,
right?
didn't
Yeah. So it's like you're just eating fat with sugar. It's lovely. And I was like, I've got to get some of this ice cream. So I bought a litre, completely forgetting that I was taking the bus from the buffalo farm to Dumfries, not get into my car. Get into my car because I wasn't going home, and I was going down to Carlisle to announce the North of England and Scotland NMR Dairy Awards. So I was like, well, this isn't getting eaten.
Oh gosh, it's going to be so melty.
Yeah, it was grim. The ice cream is amazing, Steve. If you're listening, the ice cream wasn't the issue. My ability to store it was. But yeah, there's quite a lot of food places. I mean, this week's going to be sheep cheese, so there's going to be that if he wants to get involved.
Wow.
Up at the shop. So yeah, but not here, Annie. It's been really fun. It's always quite fun to meet someone my age and have a chat, and kind of similar start to life, going to uni and seeing what happened, some kind of agricultural related side, and see what goes. But there's 2 questions that every podcast ends with. One is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, if you're the same age as me, that means we'll be in our 30s, which is sickening. And two, if you had any tips for folk getting into nutrition, what would they be? You've put a lot of thought into this. Proper thinking about it.
I asked you yesterday if there was anything specific that you were going to ask me so that I could think about things like this. And you said no. Where would I like to be in 5 years? Yeah, I want to stay with Roadhead, but I do want to get myself into a position where I'm not having to do cold calls. I want to be in that position where I am fully, my time is fully filled doing nutrition and doing support for farmers, maybe more in a consultant sort of vibe, but still within the company, but basically just working with my own customers, which are mostly dairies, although I'm interested in beef diets. I do the odd one at certain times of the year for them. So I would like to still be with Roadhead, and just in a role that I don't have to piss farmers off, basically. so that would be really nice. I'll keep it fairly simple on that. That's where, and hopefully not in Stonehouse. Maybe upgrade to Straven or somewhere more.
You've bought it. It's not easy to just change that.
I know, you're right. No, but I'll keep it.
I've already had to sell and buy again.
Sorry?
I've already had to buy and sell again. Sell and buy again.
Oh. No, I do really like my house, actually. It's very modest, but I do. I'm proud of it anyway. So, and what advice would I give to anyone? Go and work on a farm first. Like, go and do it for yourself. There's nothing worse than a salesperson or a nutritionist that's out there saying, "Oh, I've read every textbook and I know how to feed calves and know how to feed cows," and actually they've never worked on a farm. They've never seen it in practice, because the cows tell you or the calves tell you, like, I can analyze your silage, I can give you advice, I can run it through my computer, and then the cows do something totally different. And you need to respond to that. Like, you need to react to what the cows tell you. You can't just stick it in the computer every time. You need to be proactive with answers. And it's always good when you can say, "Oh, look, I've actually seen this before," or "I've experienced this." So I would say, if you're interested in feeding, go and get a job on a farm and actually start looking at the details, the more technical side of it, whether it's calf rearing or cows or whatever you're interested in. And don't just dive into the first sales job, because you will hate it. You'll get scunnered.
Yeah, you will, and you'll probably embarrass yourself.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that I've done that too, actually. But yeah, you totally can. That would be my advice. Don't dive in to just sell, because those guys just don't last.
Yeah. Good tips indeed. No, here, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not at all. And you said that you didn't think you could talk for that long.
Oh God, how long has it been?
It has been an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay.
It flies by, doesn't it?
It does actually.
Yeah. It's quite funny, because I do watch the time, because I try and sort of guide it to a certain time, and it's always the first 5 minutes. I'm like, how long this is going to take? And then suddenly I'm like, oh, it's 45 minutes.
I need to cut this now. I know. Well,
nothing gets cut. I told you that.
I wonder if we'll have any listeners left by this stage in the podcast.
I'm quite certain you will. And if you are still one of those listeners, that was R2Kast number 105. Last week we had, well, actually, I'm saying last week now. There's 2 coming out every week, so I can't even say that at this point. The last episode would have been Johan Humphreys. The one before that would have been Jack Iredale, professional footballer for Bolton Wanderers, who in the next week we'll find out if they've moved into Championship. So I'm sure you'll all be wondering how much Jack earns. Next week we have, not next week, the next episode, God, 8 a month, this is too much. The next episode will be with Benji Eagle. If you think I've got a lot of food and farming podcasts, I think he's just released his 195th. So he is much further ahead of me. I am, however, a wee bit more prolific, so I'm coming for you, Benji. But we'll have a good chat, and I'll hopefully learn a lot about podcasting from who is definitely the father of ag podcasting in this country. So thank you very much for listening, Annie. Thank you for coming on. I hope it's been enjoyable for yourself.
I've loved it. Thank you very much for having me.
Good. No, thank you for coming on, and we shall see you all, not next week, for the next episode. If this comes out on a Monday, it'll be Friday. If this comes out on a Friday, it'll be a Monday. See you for number 106.
I hope you've enjoyed another excellent episode of the R2Kast. I just want to take this moment to quickly thank our primary sponsors once more, A-Plan Rural. If you follow A-Plan on social media, you'll see the work they're doing to really promote British farming and back our industry. It's been a pleasure working alongside A-Plan Rural so far, and long may it continue. The values of A-Plan Rural runs perfectly in line with the whole mantra of rural to kitchen, and I'm glad to have them on board. Check them out on Instagram at A-Plan Rural and on Facebook at A-Plan Rural Insurance. See you for the next podcast.